Alright guys, let's talk about snare sports for a while. I, like many of you, started off with the number 9 wire with the J, beat into the trail, snare wrapped around it and up like so. Systems worked, probably caught more coyotes this way. People have caught more coyotes this way than any way that you could ever dream of. Up here in the Dakotas, this system is kind of flawed because we get so much wind. So I started on my quest trying to figure out how to make a more sturdy snare support, and everything kept coming back to rebar. I talked to a friend. He says, yeah, he uses number 9 wire, but he double coils it to make it more stiff, and he welds it to rebar. So he double coils it, and then he takes this end and he welds it to rebar and he beats it in, and he says it works very well. And I built a bunch and they did work very well, but the problem with them is the rebar is heavy and it's a pain in the neck to deal with. And believe it or not, out here beating on rebar, our ground is so hard when it's froze that the vibration and everything was breaking off the welds, and the rebar would bend before you get in the ground, so it's just a frustrating system. And everybody up here pretty much uses some sort of a disposable anchor. So I started playing around and I've tried lots of different versions of this, and this is what I finally come up with to keep the rigidity in my support. This is almost as stiff as a 1/4 inch rod. I mean, it's stiff. It gets it off the trail so the coyote's not looking at it, and it's its own snare anchor system. Basically, you just take your snare with your adjustable loop in, cinch it around there, drive it into the ground. When you get a catch, you open up your adjustable loop in, put on a new snare, and you're set. So I'm going to show you how I build these. It's kind of self-explanatory, but there's some tricks that I've learned in making the ones I have to save you some trouble. What you do is you go buy a roll of number 9 wire. And number 9 wire, it comes in 10 pounds. I think it's 10 pounds. 10-pound bundles. And one roll of it makes 28 of these supports. When you get your number 9 wire, it's going to come in a roll like this. Now this is number 12 wire. I tried to get by going lighter, but it's too light. I'm just using number 12 wire to show you as a demonstration. What you do is you find the end. This guarantees you get the most out of the roll that you can. And you take a piece of hose clamp, like the hose clamps that you screw that get tight. And you go around it and you cinch it up. And then you take a fine tooth hacksaw blade and you cut the wire. So you don't constantly have to snip them. You just make one cut and they all come apart. I started out doing it with the chop saw. Chop saw worked great, but it left burrs on all the snare supports that I had to come back and cut off by hand. I found the hacksaw with a fine blade. It cuts them, but it doesn't leave the burr. So just a FYI. And then you're only making one cut versus a whole bunch of little bitty cuts. You can do it either way if you want, but that's the quickest way I found. So you cut this in half, just one cut here. So you have 28 pieces that look like this. Okay? And once you get a piece like this, the first couple times you do it, you're going to want to just do one at a time. I have enough hand strength and enough control where I can do about 5 of these in my hand at once. So what I do is I just take them, I leave about 14 to 16 inches right here, and I just take this loose end, go over here, and then I just bend it so they're facing each other. So they fold it like so. The reason you do this is because you add everything to it, and it's easier to keep it together like this. Next thing we're going to do is add our disposable. I use a Fox Hollow Super Stake with the retrieval cable. I've made the most catches I've made off one so far is 3, and after the 3, these things will last a very, very long time. I cannot foresee anything damage them from the testing I've done with them so far. So take your anchor, you slide it down so it's on the end of your J. Next thing you do is you take your washer. on the number 9 style, you're going to want to use at least a 3/8 diameter washer. That gives enough room for your 2 pieces of number 9 wire to go through, and it gives enough room for your retrieval cable on your super stake to go through. So the 3/8 washer, this is actually a little bigger, but these super stakes, these are 1/8 inch retrieval cables. Most of them come with 3/32, like on this one, but the 1/8 inch you're going to need a bigger washer. Actually, I'll have to. If it's 1/8 inch, you're going to have to slide it through first before you slide your metal through it. So, like so. Next thing we do is we take our swedge, our 2 double ferrules. The double ferrules that fit perfectly over the number 9 annealed wire is 1/8 inch. This is number 12 wire. Like I said, I don't recommend using this. This is just for demonstrations. You slide the first one over, it hooks into the second one, and you just slide it down like so. Then you take your second one, slide it over, like so. I always swedge the top one first. I don't know why, just a habit of mine. You make 100 or 200-300 of them, you'll find that it works for you. And then in our soil and country, a foot's all you really need. So I go about a foot. My hand's 10 inches. I add 2 inches. On my swedger that's at my friend's house, I let him borrow it. He can make up some. I got it marked, so on the swedger, so they're the same. But on this one, we'll just come up about 12 inches and beat this on. Now what this does is keeps this from sliding off. Like I said, this washer is actually made for the number 9 wire. The number 9 wire, this, if you really wiggled your fingers like this, it fell off. But the number 9 wire won't allow it because it's got an 1/8 inch swedge versus the 3/32. If we beat on it enough, I'm sure we could keep it, spread it out enough so it won't slide over, but this is just for demonstration purposes. When you're doing this, your retrieval cable has to be long enough so when your earth anchor is engaged into the soil, it's not pulling up on your retrieval cable. I hope you're following me. So when you make these, make sure you make them long enough so when your earth anchor is engaged, it's not pulling up on your retrieval cable. Like if you made this too short, when the coyote's pulling on your fender washer that your snare is attached to, it can pull it out. Versus it's long enough now so when the coyote's pulling against your snare support, everything's good to go. So now we're at the part where we just twist it. So what I do is I put it in a vise. I take cordless drill, cord drill, and I put a J-hook in it. I recommend cutting the head of the J-hook off. I didn't do this on this one. It should stay in there. If you're using the number 9 wire, I highly recommend cutting the J-hook off because it's a lot tougher to spin. But this one, it should be okay. So you just hook it into your support and you just start twisting. The more you twist, the more rigid it gets. Back it off a little bit, take it out. And here we have our finished support. Like I said, this hole's too big. I run 3/8 fender washers on my number 9 wire like this, just so the the retrieval cable, number 9 wire slides through, but there's no way that the fender washer can go up because that's actually our anchor. So we get to our trail and we want to snare, and this is our ground. It's flush, so we're going to beat this into the ground. So it's like so. We're a couple feet off the trail or whatever you want to be, and that's where this comes in. We can bend it anywhere and everywhere we want. Then we get our snare with an adjustable loop end. I make all my snares with adjustable loop ends. It's just the easiest way to fasten about anything. If you don't know what that is, it's a double ferrule and a single ferrule, and the single ferrule is swedged on one end, so the loop is adjust. It's an adjustable loop end on a snare. So you slide that over the snare support, and you cinch it down underneath the snare. So no matter what, the Coyote's pulling on this, it's not going to pull it over the fender washer. And your number 9 wire has turned into your anchor, your snare support, and it's easily replaced. You just pull on this thing and push, and out. Say you get a catch and you take it off. So how I do it, this is number 9 wire, not number 12. See how flimsy this is, but the number 9 wire is so rigid it's not even funny. Take this and I wrap it up 4 or 5, 6 times, just so nothing's drooping and nothing's hanging. And I just pull it out so everything's nice and in line. There's nothing hanging in their face. Then I attach my snare to it. And these whammies are designed for number 9 wire. And then I just give it a little bend up. And there you have your finished support for your trail snare. You got this off the trail, generally you're in grass, this thing just dangles there. I also paint them camouflage just like the snare, and you're set. Coyote comes along, gets caught, and with the kill springs that we use today, it's pretty short life expectancy. Once he gets in there, he fights it, tips over, and come back, reset it for the next one. I hope you guys try them, use them, let me know what you think. I couldn't imagine going back to driving number 9 wire in with the Redmond tool. I couldn't imagine going back to rebar. This system is so fast, and the only thing we got, there's only 2 things that make money in trapping. One is speed, because you only have so much time in a day, and 2 is your traps and your snares. So this is just one unit. Once I grab this out of the truck and a snare, all I need is my driver to put it in. I don't have to have this, wire, a snare, a driver. This is all my unit right here. When I go to pull it, I just pull up on this, it comes out, fold it up, it's ready to go. If I want to paint it, dip it in a 5-gallon bucket of paint, pull it out, let it dry over summer, and throw it back in the truck when I'm ready to go again. It's the fastest system I've ever seen. To this day, I've never seen anybody come up with it. If somebody else had it, you're a smart man, and why didn't you share it to me sooner? So, hope you guys enjoy the video. I know you'll enjoy making these and using them. So, have a good one. Thank you.